Alrighty, so the bans are done. It's two junglers banned out by Fnatic. Both the Lee Sin and the Jarvan, they want to shut down some of Inspired's early playmaking. Meanwhile, with EG, you already touched on the Karma, but getting rid of that Nautilus, if we're looking at the champions on Fnatic so far, there's really no engage here. So they want to stop that from being a possibility.
That's what I was about to say, is right now they don't really have any engage or lockdown CC. You're going to expect probably that to come from Rux, but that's a huge burden to put on a young guy coming in to be the sub, be the primary engage into a Caitlyn Lux lane where a lot of those engaged champions will lose early on unless you get like really nasty gank set up.
I feel like you just lock in the MF Leona here. You say lane is going to be a little bit insufferable, but we don't have a lot of choice. We need that extra engage, and having that classic lockdown is really good because even though Lux and Caitlyn is shoving you in, if one member makes an overextension, Leona will just lock you down, and you force the Caitlyn to grab that cleanse instead of a combat summon spell instead.
Exactly, and there it is. Misfortune Leona locked in to finish off the Fnatic composition. Now, EG took Viego as their first pick of the second half of the draft. This has been becoming more popular in Champions Queue recently as well. We've been seeing quite a few picks of this, and now I'm just curious, what is that last pick for Evil Genius?
If they want to continue playing around the range, they could just grab a GP or something along those lines, but going in with the Renekton, you have something that actually contests the Aatrox in lane.
Yeah, so you have this triple melee topside with this perma-shoving bot lane for EG here. The Aatrox was a bit of a problem for a lot of teams in playoffs in North America, how people responded to it. Could you play the Fiora, for example, as a counter pick? A lot of people couldn't. And so for Impact to take the Renekton, obviously a great matchup for the Renekton, but still one that you have to play well because if you ever start falling behind, it can be tough.
Exactly. So, with the compositions finished now, I want to ask both you guys. Goldberg, I'm going to start with you and with Fnatic. How do you want to see them play this?
You feel good?
I feel good.
You like it?
I feel better.
Yeah, oh, you do?
Ooh.
Okay, well, you know, from the side of Fnatic, it's not the same kind of kiting we're going to get from Upset, you know, but I think they still have tools. And when you're playing a champion like Leona, back in the day, that was Rock's most played champion. So while the level is new to him, he's still on comfort and still seeing how he can play around ground spacing and have someone to play for. The only thing I'm worried about is the fact that Razork might get invaded with the opponent having power lanes from that bot lane.
For me, if I'm looking at it as a North American fan, I saw how crazy the early games were for Fnatic. I was terrified of Upset's laning phase going up against our substitute, but the fact that they are probably on the back foot and have a little bit more scaling with things like the Victor, I'm at least feeling okay a little bit for EG, but it's still a big question mark of high execution with all these short-range champions and a relatively fragile bot lane in the Caitlyn Lux. If things start going bad, it can go very bad.
And man, I got eyes on both of the junglers here in this game, especially. Goldberg, you talked about how, hey, if you're going to lock in Graves, the team's got to be able to play around you. We've seen Humanoid be able to facilitate Razork, like getting those things done, making sure that he can get ahead and build some of those leads, go for invades. But when EG's drafting a Viego, you can't just let him fall behind either.
Yeah, but I'm curious to see that Viego. Obviously, that's a huge callback to a comfort champion for Inspired. Like, no one's going to forget the pentakill he had against Misfits, which, by the way, back then was against Razork as well. So, you know, historically between these two guys,
got a mental edge.
Yeah, maybe potentially coming through there. But it's going to be curious to see how Humanoid is going to be performing on the Victor, because it's something that he actually struggled on when he went on to Control Mage just throughout playoffs. So going up against Jojopian, who's really been favoring champions like Silas, where there is a lot of agency, it's going to be curious to see how he's going to perform ever since the playoffs.
So one thing I do want to go ahead and take stock of here nice and early, both AD carries going for the cleanse. You mentioned it versus the Leona. It's the same thing versus the Lux. You got to be able to get away from that. Got to be able to get away if you get caught in the CC. All four solo laners running a teleport with no summoner spellbook outliers anywhere else. But I do also want to point out, this will not be the Ghost Graves that we saw in game number 1 of the day. Razork going for the Flash Dark Harvest instead of the Ghost Fleet.
Most importantly, the banter between EU and NA is underway. Jojo cannot keep his mouth shut. Right out the gate says, Humanoid Victor, oh my god, go easy on me, please. Don't Chovy gap me. And Humanoid stepping up, using some language I won't repeat.
Oh boy, wait, what do we got here? Oh, okay, that's, yep, I guess we
Let's
can't
just say he answered the call.
I love to see it. I love to see it. I love having that banter online nice and early. Both of our junglers are starting on the top half of the map, expecting them to path downwards, and we're expecting this Evil Genius's bottom lane to really be controlling the pace of things on the lower half of Summoners.
Yeah, just how that bot lane is going to be panned out. When you're playing Lux and Caitlyn into a lane like Leona, like the first few levels as Leona, they're just going to suck. You're not going to have much access to the wave. You're trying to come up, proc your little support item, get some gold, but in the end, you will get pushed in. So having them finally be able to shove that wave, they get a lot of space to roam around with. They can go aggressive, get wards on the enemy, or they could just move Vulcan up towards River to have some pressure in the mid lane as well.
Look at the double wards that they already have in River as well, both covering the Tri-Brush gank, but also the Dragon Pit gank. Giving a lot of respect to Razork's early games where he was incredible in the LEC, finding these unique angles to find kills. And bot lane can become a bit of a black hole with Caitlyn Lux lanes, where one team wants vision control so that they can perma-shove, the other one needs to gank to break that open to stop you from just taking turret plates. That causes both junglers to path top to bot, and it becomes just like the focal point of the game.
And we even know from seeing Fnatic play before, Razork's the kind of guy who will make sure he's trying to fix these lane states, get everything where it needs to be for the rest of the squad, but it is difficult when you're just stuck behind this massive war machine that is Caitlyn and Lux in the bottom lane like you're talking about. It's miserable to play against. We're just seeing everything here right now. It's EG with control over the side lanes. Mid lane going to be the push for Humanoid against Jojo Pune nice and early here. Victor having that little bit of an edge over Silas to get that one crashed in. But honestly, not a whole lot going on here early. Both junglers opting for the full clear.
Yeah, and it's just going to continue like that. Game plan for EG should just keep your bot lane stabilized. When they crash this wave, they know they can secure the crab on the bottom side as well. The only worry that you'll have to have is that fact that Humanoid is going to be pushing in the Silas, and that's just how the normal range into melee matchup go. And up towards the top side, well, you said as well, Mark, they had intel on the junglers. They knew where they was, so he can just farm for free. Inspired, though, fighting Rocks.
Yep. Finds him a little bit, not going to get a whole lot more out of it. Upset and Rux are going to be very familiar with the sights, sounds, and smells underneath this tier 1 turret because they aren't going anywhere else anytime soon.
God, this is exactly what you do with the pushing bot lane. You have your Viego go down there, not actually to make a play happen. He just kind of drops 2 wards for them to make sure that the Graves can't interrupt it, force Graves back up to the top side of the map, by that kind of isolated lane phase for your Caitlyn Lux to just keep shoving away. And it does put pressure, I feel like, a little bit on Razork as well as Wonder and Humanoid on the kind of winning side of the map a little bit to actually get some things done.
And while not a lot of things are happening right now, I gotta give some NA some props here. The fact that we see Aatrox versus Renekton, quite often we'll see both of them default to a Doran shield instead.
Yeah.
They just kind of wing it like that. But Impact, come on! He's actually gone for the Doran's blade and trying to take agency in the 1 versus 1, as you can see here as well. That's Chad. I respect it. Point +1 to NA.
All right, we'll take those props.
I'll take that any day of the week, as Inspired just walks through mid, helps shove out this wave a little bit, wants to allow Jojo to crash that wave, get his reset, get his position back in that lane ASAP, as Impact ready to crash another one here in the top side. Rux is alone underneath the tier 1 in bottom, but Upset's trying to make his way back here. Vulcan, Cowrie, and Inspired are going to be moving as a unit of 3 towards the Fnatic support, but a nice use of the Zenith Blade to bring him back underneath as Evil Geniuses get their jungler away. Jojo's coming in looking for it. Q1, Q2, both going to miss. Rux and Upset are fine for now. Inspired at 200 HP. Jojo looking to go in again. Goes down the Qs. Rux still walking away. Okay, Fnatic escapes, but it's still massive amounts of minions lost and a lot of extra golden turret plates to the EG bot lane.
Overall, a decent play for EG. I think they really wanted to get them pinned up under that turret and get that double kill there. Feels like a bit of a missed opportunity, but still in a good position. The fact that Impact is winning the top side 1v1. I'm going to keep moving on with my point.
Yikes.
Impact's winning top side, bot lane's winning. You got double winning side lanes. A lot of pressure on Fnatic. I don't know what just happened on my screen. We're moving on.
But that actually might be a point of attack for Fnatic, because out of nowhere, this super immobile Lux that doesn't have that cleanse swapped into the heal when Curry has it, all of a sudden might be someone you can gank. In the mid lane, Humanoid actually TP'd in to the mid lane instead of TPing down towards the bot side. We see a lot of teams having to TP down bot in this meta because you just combine a wave push and go for these dives. Fnatic didn't opt for that. They trusted that bot lane not to die, so Humanoid could just go back into the mid lane.
And really good showing for Rux and Upset. The fact that you're having Upset come flying in late, Rux obviously being called up in an emergency sub situation to come in and actually lane with Upset. You have to imagine there's maybe 0 scrims together. I'm not exactly sure how many they might have gotten, but it would be probably countable on.
I mean, scrims and Fnatic over this. We're not going anywhere.
That's a separate tangent, my guy. But either way, the fact that they are doing decently in a very high pressure situation so far.
Alrighty, boys, it's a 600 gold lead for Evil Geniuses with no kills on the board, and the vast majority, if not all of that, is the bottom lane. It is those turret plates. It is the 61 versus 41 farm advantage. Jojo a level behind here compared to Humanoid. Not an entire level, of course, but Humanoid just having that extra little bit of an EXP lead. He's going to force Jojo away. Jojo having no TP to get back here. Razork's got control over this topside river, so he should be able to secure the crab as Wonder just tries to distract these minions here a little bit longer. Impact once he gets the wave shoved up. Inspired is here, but there is no level 6 on either jungler.
Yeah, and really good wave management from both solo laners of Fnatic currently. You can see Humanoid gets the push in against Jojo, and Wunder, knowing that they don't have intel on the enemy jungler like Inspired right now, actually just sets up the freeze in his lane right here. So even though Inspired is up here, the only way he'll find the gank if his Wunder gets over aggressive.
Nope, looks like we're pretty good. Impact's just gonna walk it off. Takes a lot of damage there from the Q3, but he'll be able to reset, do whatever he wants. Does have the teleport if he needs it as well. As you can see, that bottom lane finally being pushed out there by Fnatic.
Really nice play over the last minute and a half by both Fnatic solo laners. The mid pressure that Humanoid put down onto Jojo forced him back into base with no recall. Vulcan had to cover mid, which relieved the pressure in the bot lane as well. We just saw that kind of freeze that Wunder has on the top side while still getting chunked onto Impact. They have done a really good job. You can see the gold lead coming back closer to even now, just off that kind of solo lane prowess.
Alrighty, boys, where's First Blood gonna be? Where do we think we're actually going to get some of this PvP action?
Bot lane fiesta party, something's going right or wrong for one of these teams.
Alrighty. That's what I like to hear. We'll see if anybody moves their way down there, as we do have Inspired and Razork both hanging around the mid lane. Level 6 for both junglers.
But actually, this could be curious as well, because EG actually have a bot lane that can shove in. So if you shove in your bot lane right now, you get Vulcan on a reset. You have that first rotation up towards the Herald. Maybe you force a skirmish that actually favors you there, especially because Humanoid continues to have that push. So leveraging the fact that your bot lane can move is something to go for, but it looks like they're just going to continue to try and get some extra gold by chunking down the plates, while on the top side as well, even Wunder is forced to recall, so I wonder if EG sees the situation to commit here.
Well, Inspired finds a quick stun on a Humanoid, but now he's got to be careful. Razork with the immediate punish, and they force out the defensive Viego ulti. Jojo dashing himself back over the Raptor wall.
Ooh.
Uses E2 to get to the minions. There's the ulti from Humanoid. Evil Geniuses, they end up taking a big chunk of damage here on their mid laner, Jojo.
Oh my god, Humanoid, I was worried about the victory. He said, please don't Chovy get me. It's happening a little bit. This black hole in mid lane pulling so much pressure down towards him. Impact getting his ult forced?
I don't think it was a force as much as he thought
fatty
maybe
finger?
he was gonna go in on Razork there, but it didn't happen. Meanwhile, in bottom lane, a lot of damage there to Vulcan. First Blood, Fnatic in the 2v2.
And that is Rox that shows up as well on the Leona. They have the Leona Misfortune bot lane. They know Vulcan flashed earlier. They have it on the timer, and they see the moment. Instantly punished down there.
Nicely done, but EG now seems to want a fight here in the topside river. Remember that Inspired does not have an ultimate. Impact does not have an ultimate, so Fnatic can take the Herald and get away.
Really nice play for the last minute for Fnatic, just really stopping the bleeding in all lanes. That flash lost by Vulcan that you called out, Goldberg, punished right before it came back up. They get that kill. That slows the bot lane push down. You also get the Herald. It's an interesting development of what's going to happen with Cait lanes. Do you start moving for the Herald, or do you just keep your pressure bot? They chose to keep the pressure bot, but they still got engaged on.
And it feels bad when you play. If you ever play the Lux in this matchup as well, knowing if you don't have that summon spell, Leona is just unbearable to play against. Like, you leverage the fact that you have early pressure in the lane, but know when you hit level 6, you can never be in center flip range, or else you just will get blown up.
Really, really nice stuff, being able to not only get that kill, but force the flash out of Cowrie as well. And it's all about maintaining the threat of another kill as soon as they've got those resources available once more. That's what they got to be ready to do. They must be able to all in this incredibly oppressive poke lane that does still have about a 25 CS lead for Cowrie over Upset.
But the lane is still going to go, like, you're still shoving in with a Lux, right? And because of that, they are getting access to the river right now, where you can just start off the first neutral objective, at least from EG side, by getting this Cloud Drake for themselves. So there's still lots to play for EG. It's not like the bot lane is all of a sudden shut down.
You don't lose, the game outright, but you do have that hiccup in tempo, which can slow things down, because ideally after you crack bot turret, you want to start moving top and whatnot. The fact that top lane's already starting to turn in Wunder's favor, we see a Gore Drinker for Impact instead of what has been kind of becoming more popular with Blade of the Rune King and then into Sunfire, for example. So not quite as strong in the 1v1, and Wunder's been taking advantage of him.
I know Odo was actually talking a bit about that, and he said that it felt like bait. And I say this because Odo had a horrible time with Runex in the beginning of playoffs and then moved into a point where it actually worked out for him. Well, newsflash, he won the championship.
What?
No way!
And in that regard, he was saying that Gold Drinker for competitive, it just feels better. The other one's great for solo queue, but having that Gold Drinker when you're playing extended team fights, it just has a lot of value.
Yeah, people have debated it a lot, especially into like shorter range compositions. A lot of people do love the Gore Drinker still, just for how beefy it makes you in team fights.
Oh boy, Cowrie getting jumped on here in the bottom lane. No flash, no way out. Upset gets another.
Razork with every jungler's favorite gank, show up, shoot your ult over the wall, get that, contribution, then just keep power clearing. Gonna now get an invade as well. They get the pressure in the bot side, forcing Vulcan out of lane. This is going south for EG quick.
Oh, Vulcan does have flash. Razork, do you throw your Q in? He's not.
Nope, okay.
He's not gonna do it.
I'm surprised you don't just throw even your smoke
just
screen.
for the sake of it.
I mean, you saw the ulti come down, so you know he's potentially somewhere around, but no, Razork doesn't go for it. He'll just end up backing instead. Let's take another look at how Fnatic found him again.
And it's what you called out as well, Flowers. Now it's Kari who doesn't have that flash instead. He does still have the cleanse, but even then, it's not enough to get out of the situation, and Vulcan's so close to going down as well.
Yeah, the slow field from the Glacial Augment, making sure that even if you do cleanse, you still have a tough time getting out of the Misfortune ultimate with no flash. And then again, with the Graves ult coming over the top, it's so much damage from so far away. EG have to find a way to get a good team fight. I don't know how you do that at this point because Fnatic should have, I think, the scaling advantage in a lot of ways. With the MF already on Gale Force, completed 2 kills. She feels accelerated. Victor's very strong. It does feel like a tough position for EG here.
Yeah, but I mean, you gotta give props to the way that EG are identifying that game plan, though. Like, they had a lot of members down towards the bot side. They almost found 2 kills when Humanoid TP'd into the mid lane instead. And had that happen, game would have gone a whole different way. But seeing as this is the reality, Jojo even having to flash away there.
I feel like every time we're panning to the mid lane, it's Humanoid taking control over the 1v1 and Jojo being forced to retreat. He's constantly on the back foot. Razork tries to invade now against Inspired. Inspired's looking to set this one up. Razork is low. Jojo's coming in, and Inspired gets EG on the board.
All right, overstep by Razork puts EG on the board. They find that shutdown kill pretty huge, getting the red buff onto Viego as well. Maybe now Inspired can start finding a way to disrupt these lanes that are all turning in Fnatic's favor. Mid lane turret drop.
Mid lane turret goes down. All of it collapses before plates are removed, so it's such a huge amount of gold for Humanoid specifically there in the mid lane. You can see the count at the top of your screen. 480 more gold because they got twice as many plates. Here's how Razork got caught, though.
And you just think it's safe to go in here because Jojo got chunked out. He kind of expects them to just have backed away, and he thinks the Humanoid's going to be in a position to back him up. Unfortunately, that's Jojo's that's going to be there.
Jojo's there first, but I think it was also a really heads-up play by Inspired to target that blast cone. He stuns up Razork so he can get to the other side of him and hit the blast cone, because I'm sure Razork's thinking, well, if I'm in trouble, I'll just Graves dash to the other side of this blast cone and get out. So I think that was actually a really heads-up play by Inspired.
That's our MVP right there.
What do you mean? That's
Our MVP, my brother.
Your MVP? You know, the meme image with the, you made this, I made this.
Exactly.
The only man to do it in both regions, as Upset feeling plenty comfortable down here in the bottom lane now. That 25 CS lead has largely disappeared. Razork going to take a little bit of damage there from Vulcan's ulti, but considering EG's bottom lane are 0-1 and 0-1, it's not too surprising when we look at the total gold. It's 3 Fnatic players topping the charts.
Also, with the fact that you have so much mid control from Humanoid, it does make it harder for your bot lane to even push aggro the way it wants to, kind of brain off AFK permashove. With mid lane already broken, with Humanoid controlling mid lane, it's so difficult to want to get that shove because they'll always have first move on Jojo.
And this is where you might see some Fnatic specials as well. They're not necessarily only looking for neutral objectives. You open up the mid lane, Humanoid can push it out, and you start invading enemy buffs instead.
Oh boy, World Ender versus World Ender. Impact flashes for the stun. Wonder continues running away. He will be able to survive there. Impact spends a flash to really not get anything but his opponent's flash out of it, so those will be traded back and forth. 10 seconds until the Drake spawns. No ulti for the Fnatic top lane.
And it's a minor thing, but I do believe that the blue buff was also stolen away by Razork, so they come in, they invade, they leverage their lane pressure. Well, actually, it's Upset that got it. Either way, they steal away these camps that EG actually have gotten for themselves that they would usually be able to get. So you have someone who gets pressure in a lane, you put that pressure elsewhere on the map, and all of a sudden, slowly but surely, you pick apart the pieces that EG has going for them. Now even just leveraging down on the bot side, picking up the turret, and might potentially pick up the Drake too.
Oh yeah, Fnatic making sure that Evil Geniuses are not able to stack any of those Drakes up. It'll be 1 for 1 there. Infernal Rift, so getting rid of a lot of that extra terrain here on the map. Lux Laser, I mean, honestly, just not getting a whole lot done there. And
In and out for the recall, man.
Fnatic's lead is 4,000 gold almost.
And I was going to ask you about that, because I feel good right now, Mark, but make me feel worried.
I can't.
Yes!
You guys are going to int it Baron.
That might be true. We saw Matt do it today. Why not do it twice?
Yeah, that looked fun. They
Yeah.
still won the game, and you should try it. Do it, Fnatic. You won't.
Now, speaking of Baron, it's not there yet, but Rift Herald still is. And now with the members being able to move around the map, both lane teams have actually put their bot lane in the mid lane to try and contest the push more efficiently with 2 members. But Fnatic is still the team with the lead, and because of that, they are the ones starting up the Rift Herald.
Yeah, you see EG not looking like they're really going to contest it at all. Doesn't look like they're going to move. Jojo is recalling. I think he has TP and could join in, but not the case. And for Fnatic, you know, they were the super team that came together. Felt like a lot of people were disappointed
Don't
with
say
their
that
play.
word.
Nah, super team, greatest team ever.
It's a bad
ever
word here.
constructed. But I will say, they did seem to start peaking at the right time from the disappointing first regular season finish. And while third is obviously not what they wanted, that lower bracket run started to show signs of life of how good this team could be. And I feel like if you're peaking at Worlds, that is probably the time to do it. You can erase a lot of bad history of how your year went if you're able to have a good showing at the most important tournament.
I mean,
Absolutely.
We've seen it before so many times as well for the teams that would. I mean, EDG is one example as well, of course, where it's just like, well, who's really going to count them on? And all of a sudden they're in finals and they not reverse sweep, but take down one as well. So definitely, like, the entire track record you've had as a team can be washed away by having the success towards the end of the year.
And you can see topside here, Impact just having to back away. It's Fnatic with control over that second Herald. Remember, the first one was instrumental in getting that tier 1 turret in mid low enough to take it down, get all the plate money. Plates are long since gone here top, but this is going to be enough to force down the tier 1 in top lane. That is the last tier 1 turret now checked off by Fnatic. They are up to a 5,000 gold lead.
And this is where it's just so difficult for EG, because just going back all the way to draft, with the game plan they had and how you executed, you are so reliant on being the one ahead, and even more so, relying on being the team that picks up the Herald so you can actually move your bot lane around. And then moving it in further, you just don't have that much team fight prowess with your engage either.
No, it's going to be very difficult to punch through any of the front line of Fnatic. You don't have that incredible burst, really. If someone's really out of position, sure, you can do it, but if you're jumping on Eclipse Wonder, he gets that shield, gets some healing with his Qs, he can drain tank you, as we see, maybe.
Oh boy, flash into the stun with Everfrost. Blink and you miss it. Humanoid is out.
Humanoid gets caught on side. It's an ult meme, but it does still check out, apparently. EG down towards the bot lane, finally finding some ways back into the game, and this is what you need to look for as well, because I think a lot of teams, and specifically towards teams that struggles every now and then, that when they fall behind, they only default to still standard League of Legends to try and get back into the game, and that's just not going to work when you have the gold disadvantage going into fight objectives. You need to be creative and find pathways to get back into the game, so credit to Jojo Pin and Inspire there for finding those creative plays.
Especially at Worlds, right? When these are the best teams around, when everyone does have fundamental understanding and control over the game enough to not just give you those freebies where you're saying, all right, well, I guess we'll just play it normal and hope for the best. I like to see them making these moves. I like to see them being creative. Evil Geniuses has relied so much in North America on betting on themselves and their mechanics. They're a team fighting squad. They will take close encounters and say, hey, we'll outplay, we'll make it happen, but they gotta at least make the game close enough to feel confident in doing that, and Fnatic still commands an impressive lead.
Yeah, EG are a very scrappy team. Their team fight coordination is what made them so good in North America. For Fnatic, you talk about the individual prowess, maybe not being always on the same page with their decision making. You maybe moved out of the comfort zone. This is the copium angle. Yeah, the laning phase, they're incredible. Side lanes, we're gonna pick them off.
Well, we'll see if you can continue doing that, because 40 seconds.
You asked for it earlier.
Well, yeah, sorry, you're right.
all right.
You're just delivering. 40 seconds. Infernal Drake only would be the second one being stacked up here, but this is the kind of objective that if you want to not give them away, you're forced to go for a team fight. You can't look for the side lane.
And there's no real reason to give it away, as Jojo jumped on.
Jojo gets jumped on. He's going to be exploded. The timing is terrible. 25 seconds on the Drake. He won't be alive in time for it. Evil Geniuses lose their mid laner at the wrong time.
They also get the teleport out of Impact, so Wonder can just keep pushing up in the top lane. You're still going to be able to get this dragon while not even needing to commit him to it. Absolutely huge. I was just about to say, for EG, your comp doesn't benefit from delaying the contesting dragon, so I was hoping to see them fight that one, but Jojo being with a big misposition just makes it free for Fnatic.
Yeah, interesting to see the pings as well here. Remember, Caitlyn does have an auto attack range that goes through the Baron, but I really thought that they'd wanted to try and cross map it at some point if they're ever looking for it, but it just looks of course, will Vulcan piling in that one, and they're just looking for a cross map because they can't contest on the bot side now. They're looking for whatever they can get on the top side, but no one's really biting the bait.
And we were talking in draft about how, hey, MF Leona, it sucks early. You're going to be feeling the pain. Caitlyn and Lux want to run the entire game from the bottom lane. Hey, it's 3 kills for Upset and 3 assists for Rux. It looks like the substitute support situation isn't too bad here for Fnatic.
I mean, that's the real Fnatic Academy there. If you want to make it to Worlds, don't bother playing LEC. Go to Fnatic Academy instead. It works every year.
I mean, now let's start up the hype machine. When Hylissang comes, should he come back in? No. Of course. I think for Fnatic, the fact that you are having such a good performance already and knowing that, you know, one of the most important pieces for like how you approach the game. Hylissang just makes the game about his playstyle. You know, the fact that you're already winning without him is huge.
Yeah, but I mean, props to Rox as well. He's been wanting this for so long. I mean, not just Worlds, but playing at the LEC stage as well. And now he's finally here, and he's really delivering. He usually was a guy that would be the shot caller, that would take charge. So my main worry seeing him be here was the fact, well, how are you going to be coming into a team filled with veterans, but you're also the guy who usually dictates or be a tall voice? Is there going to be anything conflicting? So far, it really doesn't look like it, and it's great to see a guy just step on a stage, fly to a different country on the other side of the world, and just deliver.
And in such an important game, too, when we're talking about this group and we're talking about how everybody's favorites for it are Evil Geniuses and Fnatic, getting that head-to-head advantage over them, taking the 1-0 here on day one, absolutely huge for the results and the consequences of the group stage.
Yeah, the consequences are the big thing. Yeah, number 1 gets out scot-free. The concern is also not just your own group, but Group B, how stacked that is. DRX, RNG, Mad Lions, Saigon Buffalo. You'll have to beat one of those teams most likely in a best of 5 if you are not topping your group. So this game is critical for these teams, one, to start the group outright, but then also to have any potential tiebreaker scenarios that might come.
Oh boy, my friends. Oh boy, indeed. Evil Geniuses are not looking so hot. 23.5 minutes in, 6,000 gold down, 1 Drake behind Fnatic, who have honestly just been playing some awesome League of Legends here so far. Wonder's feeling comfortable there in that side lane matchup. You can see he's already got his second item completed with the Black Cleaver, Gore Drinker plus Umbral Glaive for Razork. Everything seems to just be going Fnatic's way.
Yeah, and I feel like how let's say bold is Fnatic really in terms of elevating their lead? Because quite often, once again, they'll try and look for invades. Might not have to.
Oh boy, Inspired could be in a pretty precarious situation here. Yes, he is. Now we got even more problems. It's bullet time! Razork gets another, and that's gotta just be an easy Baron for the LEC team.
And I was talking about how they needed to look for a potential invade. Red buff is spawning in 10 seconds. Usually that's a point of contention you could go for, but Inspired and the rest of EG just walking into the river where it's just not their territory any longer, gifting them the kills, and in essence, also giving them the Baron.
Had his ult and flash available. That's why I think Inspired felt safe to kind of walk into that river, but just too much damage came out too quickly. The CC as well for Fnatic gets that pick off. No jungler. Easy Baron. Looking super clean for Fnatic this game.
And I mean, Razork just pops the sweep. We see him coming in here. And if you don't start the ultimates, the flashes at this point in time, you're just not living. And then I think it's really good presence of mind from Rox as well, just immediately spotting the EG bot lane to get another pick. Burn a few summoner spells as well from Kaori, getting out that cleanse. So still looking super good for Fnatic, and EG slowly but surely feeling the grasp of the game.
Alrighty, if it was bad before, it is hellacious now. About 9,000 gold is Fnatic's lead. Mark, are we in a spot where they can even come back through without a major throw from Fnatic, or is this going to require some sort of misexecution?
TB.
Oh no. Oh no, look away, North American fans. Just turn your heads a different direction.
I've never seen a teleport be responded with a teleport like that.
Yeah, so that's...
It was a bold choice because they take the same amount of time.
Let's see how it plays out for them.
They take the same amount of time to complete. So you going second means that he's always going to show up first. And both members that have teleport have a way to interrupt you.
Exactly.
So very bold decision. We'll see how it works out.
Well, we saw. We've already seen such a thing. Impact at least getting the second turret of the game for EG, but it's immediately answered by Fnatic getting an even more valuable turret in the Tier 2 bottom lane. That's both side lane Tier 2s gone now. Fnatic still have Baron for another 90 seconds already, plus 2,500 gold on the play.
30 seconds, Infernal Dragon. You're just like, you're just completely taking over the map before. If we thought River was dangerous territory for EG before, their own jungle is just not theirs when Fnatic get out on the map on resets. But now Impact looking for flank.
Okay, Inspired goes in, wonders your target here at the start, but he flashes away. EG, no matter what they try, they can't get a thing, and Fnatic is just walking circles around them.
Couldn't even half health Wonder or Razork during that kind of trade when it was you with the flank going in on them. They didn't commit too many ultimates. It was basically just Impact and Cowrie, but you can see how difficult it's going to be. This is what I was talking about punching through frontline. Yes, it's a bigger gold deficit than I was expecting, but it is difficult in straight front-to-back team fights to try and kill these somewhat tanky members of Fnatic.
Okay, bullet time just to zone the EG players away there from the turret. Make sure that their attention is focused squarely there as Razork takes soul points for the side of Fnatic. One more Drake and Infernal Soul is going to make this game even scarier than it already is for the Evil Geniuses. Rux goes in, can just walk right back out. EG, they know they're so far behind. Their moment has to be perfect. Their engage has to be spotless.
And that's the thing right now, having that Leona ultimate is at least something to look for, but even then, if you get upset, he still opted in for that cleanse.
Yep.
Fnatic, being intelligent, playing on 2 lanes, Baron still active. You push in mid lane, you move the rest of the members down, but you keep the pressure going.
Fnatic will move on to their second tier 3 turret of the game now. The Baron is gone, but what's it even matter when you're this far ahead? Wonder spreads his wings, moves forward with a World Ender. Jojo tries to jump in, but Jojo has just not found much of anything here in this game. Cowrie barely gets away. He'll survive with 200 HP, but Fnatic will use this momentum to take mid inhibitor, bot inhibitor, and most of what's left of EG's hopes.
Fnatic looking so good in their first game. It was a very dramatic, tumultuous week for Fnatic fans. You saw, I feel like every single day, a front post Reddit page, of just Fnatic roster update. Who's going to make it? Who's not going to make it? Everyone talking about how they always feel cursed for Worlds, but seeing them now on the stage, most of the team there, knowing Hylissang is on the way soon, they have to be feeling a big sigh of relief.
It's just like, what about Hylissang? Are you the best player in the team? Oh, he's not even the best supporter in the team. Obviously, that's a joke, and Hylissang is incredibly gifted. But I think now as well, just looking at the map state, 2 inhibitors down, I mean, it's a no-brainer. You just move up towards that top side, you keep the pressure going. At this point in time, Fnatic should just be taking the game.
You could also go stay in your base for the next 20 minutes. You don't have to go top lane. That would be my my pitch.
We are taking...
See if you can infiltrate the comms.
Guys, a little bit of a huge huff of the NA copium there as the Evil Geniuses are, well, 5 digits behind. We'll just leave it that way. As Fnatic, they don't even need the Baron. They're going to push this up. They know they got the pressure elsewhere. They try to go in with Inspired on EG's side, but it just doesn't matter. It's too much money, and they're beating them to death with the wallet. Double kill back over to Upset. Fnatic get 4. This game's over.
First fight between EU and NA goes Europe's way. Fnatic slap EG down. They're on the board as well.
That wasn't a fight. That was an absolute beatdown. Fnatic, they answered the pressure in the bottom lane. Humanoid constantly had Jojo in the back foot. They got the angles. They found the plays. They worked together. And Rux showed up like he was ready to go from moment 1. Awesome game from them.